How much of the record was already made when he became involved?
Basically all of the tracks we already had. Like, we started to compose the songs in the beginning of last year, and we had all the songs, but Franky got on board approximately maybe late July, and that was a wonderful thing also for the album, because first time in our career we were able to practice as a band, and you can hear it because all the details are now like very well considered and stuff like this. So first time in our life we had the vocalist also in the rehearsal room. We made a proper pre-production, like 10 days with the producer before even starting to record. So I think that just affects everything, that the album feels very determined and clear. Actually, it's also funny thing for me. I had all the time the feeling that I take care of the kind of lead cellos in the group, and the solos and stuff. But now that there was this vocalist who has a really, really solid and clear position, I was able to actually arrange and do my own cello parts also much more clear. And I didn't have the same feel than earlier, that I have to try to fill some strange voice worlds. So actually I feel that having Franky on board gives even more attention to my real cello playing, which is kind of cool combo. And in that sense, the Shadowmaker album, it sounds very brutal. It's incredible, the Nick Raskulinecz and Greg Fidelman's sound. That's bombastic and amazing and so much energy. But still, I think that actually the presence of the real cello behind everything, it's much more present and closer. And we didn't fool around so much with strange effects. So we tried to go back in thinking the way that we are a cello group, in fact. And yeah, powerful distortion, but then a lot of like fragile and beautiful cello sound.
And when you started writing for the record early last year, because you mentioned when you had the year off, you listened to a lot of classical music, you worked on classical music. Would that come through then when you started writing, when the writing process came, or is that totally different?
I think it changed, because actually I didn't. Of course, we do lots of songs and only some of them end up into the record, but I didn't do a single aggressive song out of maybe 10 tracks that I made last year. And my tracks now is this one epic Till Death Do Us Part, the epic instrumental, which turned out to be a really cool one. I first planned it to be like an intro to the album, but when we started to play together, it just, it started to get more and more structures. And actually Raskulinecz, who I have to say that the producer, he has to be one of the most inspiring persons I've ever met in the music business, because he loves music so much. And he came into the, we locked ourselves for like 7 weeks to Nashville woods, outside Nashville in Tennessee. And there was 5 of us, of course, with Apocalyptica, Franky plus Nick, and we had no clue about what's happening outside the world, and we locked ourselves in the studio to make this everything. And Nick was really, really able to give us, still impulse. I think one of the most important values in a producer is that he gets that kind of best out of you that you wouldn't even realize to do yourself. So I think he was able to still put the fuel for our creativity in that sense. And
how did he do it? How did he motivate you or push you to?
He was there, like sitting next to us, doing air drums, air guitars, air cellos, in middle of everything. Like when we played, and even still in recordings, he wanted to sometimes sit next to you, like a coach, like yeah, do it. Like really, really just encouraging everyone to overdo what you are used to do. And in that sense, that was very, very emotional and beautiful. And I think that's also you can hear. And for him, it was amazingly important that he captures a performance into the track. And actually, I started to follow this feel during the recording, even the way that I put all my, performing clothes on every evening. I knew that it's my tracks are going to be played. I put the mask on, and I really tried to, that was fun. In a recording room, I was thinking that this is one of my most important concerts ever, because now I perform something and everybody will listen to it, and I cannot change it anymore. So I think you can hear this very like specific, strange, mysterious atmosphere in there. But yeah, many songs, they turned out to be something totally different than we were planning.
What idea? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What idea did you have? Did you have an idea in mind before then, before the actual recording and everything started, of what the album should sound like?
Actually, we had a very clear vision how the album should sound, and actually our vision from the very start is that we would like to sound like Greg Fidelman's, Death Magnetic, that the energy level is something absolutely like that, or System of a Down's work. That was very clear that we didn't want to go to very wet and huge, enormous, somehow delay, the world's biggest distortion. Rather, less tracks and very dry and energy. And somehow it felt that if we do it such a way, we reach the identity better, and you kind of hear the bow gripping and everything like this. So Fidelman was our first and basically the main wish to be the mixer. At some point it actually seemed that they cannot do the record with us because of they are pretty busy gentlemen. And Metallica was about to go to studio and Fidelman was like blocked for 1 year, but actually then they decided to change their schedules. Suddenly Fidelman actually then sent us a note that now he would have the possibility to mix the album if you are still interested. And so actually in that moment we decided to postpone everything, that we can make it with them, and that caused a little bit hassle with some. We had to reschedule all the tours for the spring and stuff like this, but I think it was well worth of the sacrifice, because now the final product is such kind of strong. And of course the impulse of Franky, he got into the studio with us, into the rehearsal rooms, when we had the songs, but of course his impact for still fixing the lyrics, still thinking, reconsidering things. He was giving arrangement ideas even to our instrumentals, which was very good, because we could trust in him immediately. There was this connection and it felt like it's natural. And we wanted to give him, of course, we respect him as an artist, so that was very, very, I think, lovely way to do the record. So we totally felt as a solid unit throughout everything. And actually this time we didn't have any record deal even signed before the album was done. And that was another, lovely thing, that we were able, just 6 of us, concentrate on doing that kind of an album that we love, and without need to listen to anybody's opinions and suggestions in that sense.
If you look back then, because you wanted to go back to this core, and have you felt then that with some of the records before that there was some sort of pressure, or there was some sort of?
I would be lying if I say that no, there is never, there is always a pressure when it comes to some business, but I think sometimes when you go to a studio, for example, and there are, of course, that's good that people have opinions, but at least this time when we didn't need to listen to anyone, that reminded about the times of Cult, when we really wanted to even fire everyone to be able to make such an album that we want to do at this time. And I think that must be the main reason, the main key for everything, that we have to follow that kind of, there's the feel that we want to reach, and then kind of believe that our audience evolves with this feel. And I have always thought that if I get impressed about something, I cannot be the only one on earth who feels the same. So that would be the connection between, the musician and then the folk who follows them, comes to the concerts, that they need, they share some kind of same, let's call musical identity.
Right.
And therefore, I think that the Apocalyptica audience is also somehow audience who wants to evolve with the band. And of course, I know that whatever changes we have done in our career, adding drums, adding vocals, everything like this, there is always the people who feel uncomfortable with the changes. Somebody may even turn their backs that you are not anymore what I used to love. But we cannot basically repeat the same thing time after time if we feel uncomfortable with it. So we have to evolve, and in that sense, I'm pretty sure that Apocalyptica fans, in general, they are music lovers, and they are just probably, the majority of it is they are interested about what all do we still find. And therefore, I think we have still the possibility to play for many people.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.